Hi Martina, good morning.
Good morning, Sriram. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. After a long time we are going together.
Yes, Sriram.
You are working with your report?
Yes, Sriram. I have to submit it today, so I'm rushing up to the work now.
Oh, I see. I heard that Martina, you did your internship in your hometown, TANTEA Corporation.
Yes, Sriram. I heard even you did it in Sakthi Sugar.
Yes, Martina.
Nice
You see,
industry.
both of us are belongs to the same industry,
Yes.
food industry.
Food industry. And nice industry. I have to know more about it. Shall we discuss about it later?
Yeah, sure, Martina. I have to go to my breakfast.
Okay, Sriram.
Let's see you later.
Thank you. Nice
Yeah.
talking to you.
Bye.
Bye. Can you please share about the sugar industry?
Yes, of course, Martina. India is the leading sugar producer in the global market, and Brazil is topmost sugar producer in the global market, which has the contribution of 45%, and India has been taken up 15% of the global sugar market shares. And apart from them, China, Cuba are the major countries who are producing the sugars in the global market. In India, you can see North and South regions. There are two regions. In North India, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh are the two major sugar producers. In South India, you can see Karnataka, Tamil Nadu are the major sugar producers.
Okay. Likewise, even while coming to tea also, India is considered to be the second largest tea producer, and they are playing the major role in the global market. And from the Asian countries are the main regions, are the main countries that are producing tea. And the countries like India, Vietnam, China, Turkey, and Sri Lanka are the major contributors. In India, there are two different regions like North India and South India. And from North India, West Bengal and Assam are considered to be the major tea producers. And in South India, Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu are to be considered to be the major producers.
While doing my internship, I heard that the tropical regions are most favorable for the tea and the sugar cultivation.
Yes. Because of they are mostly found in the hills region.
These regions
So
for
the
tea
climate
industry.
is being suitable for the tea plants to grow.
Yeah, yes, I know about that. Is there is any regulatory body for tea?
Yes, Sriram, Tea Board of India is taking care of the whole tea departments.
As I said, there is a regulatory body for sugar industry also, Indian Sugar Mills Association, and it has been undertaken by the central government. It is communicating with the central government. Even we are having the separate pricing policy for us. There is an interference by the central government and state government by the advisory prices, and after that ISMA will take upon the prices according to the mill owners.
While we coming to tea industry, some will be under the government and some will be under private. So it depends according to their
According to the
rules.
needs. The companies. Yeah. You have various analysis for your study. Can you brief about the SWOT analysis you did? During your internship period, you did various analysis for your study. I hope that you may across the SWOT analysis. Can you share about your experience?
Yeah, sure, Sriram.
Yeah.
There is more demand for Tanti products in the market, and there have been loyal customers to the Tanti products, and even Tanti has got loyal labels also. There is a very good research and development team. The climatic conditions are more suitable for the tea plants to grow over there. At the same time, they should mainly concentrate on the auction sales and also the pricing policies, and they should update themselves to new technologies like ERP and so on.
Yeah.
And Tanti has got many opportunities to cultivate the crops in other regions of South India also.
You have an idea about diversifying your
Diversify the crops. So even I know that you two will be doing your analysis on sugar industry, no? Can you please share about it?
Approaching the sugar industries, there are various crises are over there. Apart from that, Sakthi Sugars is still struggling on the pricing policies towards the farmers. At the same time, they have various trends towards the technological developments and pioneering bringing up the technologies for the sugar production and the district cultivations. They are having a computerized system for fully computerized system for district productions and high capacity of various byproducts as like bagasse for paper production and have a good relationship towards the TNEB, Tamil Nadu Electricity Boards. At the same time, they need to concentrate on their financial operations. They are uh, still maintaining a lower level of the financial operations. They need to concentrate on that. Apart from that, they have a big opportunity towards the North Indian markets. Even today, the North Indians are still struggling on drought, and even the governments are saying that the drought states are from North India. If they are exporting the sugars to North India, means they have a big opportunity, and they have an opportunity to import the raw sugar for the better productions if the sugar canes are not available in the markets. At the same time, the GST will play a major role in the market, and the GST will brings up to 28% of the tax for the display productions to the company. So it will be in threat for them.
Okay. And Sriram, I want to see your production video. Can you please show it?
I will show you. At the same time, I need to know about that, and
yeah, sure. I'll show the video.
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm more eager to know about the Sakthi sugars. Can you please share about it?
Yeah, sure, Martina. Sakthi sugars is one of the leading traditional sugar producers in the market, and they are in the business for the past 50 years. They are very pioneer in getting up the technologies to the field, and they are leading sugar producers and one of the major sugar producers in producing the high standard of sugars, ICU, MSA, 35. They are the only sugar producers producing in that quality of standards. They are not only producing sugars, they are also producing drinking ethanols and electricity. As like that, they can produce 32 megawatts of electricity per day. And they have various achievements through best sugar industries by SISMA, and best sugar producers from ISMA, as like that, various awards, and even they are having for all the units, for the power division, electricity division, and display divisions also. And apart from that, they are having 3 different plants in various regions. In Sivaganga, in Madurai, in Dindigul, and another one in Orissa. They are producing 3 types of sugars: L30, M30, S30, and they are very pioneer in sugars.
Nice to hear about it, Sriram.
Yeah, sure. And even I am a big fan of TANTEA. I have a lot of TANTEA in roadside stalls. Can you brief about that?
Yeah, sure. TANTEA has been in the market for more than 50 years. They have been in South India. TANTEA has been the leading tea producer. There are nearly 8 regions in South India, and TANTEA has been taking care of the state government of Tamil Nadu. I did my internship in Tiger Hill Tea Factory, which is an ISO 9001 certificate factory. This is an orthodox method. Tea is being produced in orthodox method, and there are nearly 8 regions. I told you, no?
Yeah.
There are nearly 8 regions in South India itself. Among that, the TANTEA does not only produce tea powder; they also do produce other products like chinfresh and pepper also.
Oh, it's very. See, because I know about the TANTEA is only for tea production. Apart from that, they are having various byproducts.
Yes.
Okay, fine, Martina. Let's discuss about the SWOT and the analysis what we did over in the period.
Yeah, sure.
Hand plucking is a traditional method where hundreds of women are involved in plucking tea leaves. Fans will be fixed where it gives cool air for withering. Withering is the process where the moisture has been removed. After the process, the tea leaves are being sent into the roller machine. Dry leaves going by fermentation by production line. The rolling machine breaks up the cell wall and releases the enzymes. This is the granulating machine where the tea leaves are being sent for smashing and fermentation. The tea leaves turns brown in color after the fermentation process. Fermentation process should be balanced for proper tea. At the end of this processing. After the fermentation process, the tea leaves are being sent into the dryer for drying. The leaves should be heated up to 220 degrees centigrade. The drying machine divides the dust coming from this pipe. The drying machine works on gas. The tea powder has been coming on belt and going for the next process. The leaves are being sent to the grading machine where the powder has been separated according to their sizes. The sorting machine is used to sort to separate the powder and falls inside the bags. After the grading process, the tea powder has been ready for packing. The tea powder will be tasted by the tea maker in the tasting room.
High. Here in the field, a worker pares away the husk from a stalk of sugarcane, then chews the cane's raw pulp to extract the stalk's sweet juice. This machine harvests the cane by cutting it at the base. Rotating scrolls feed the cane to the chopper drums inside. As they chop the cane, a fan blows the lighter leaves and tops back onto the field. The heavier lengths of cane drop into the base of a conveyor, which feeds them into the transport bin that follows alongside. Trucks rapidly transport the cut cane to the sugar mill for processing. Once cut, sugarcane begins to lose its sugar content, and damage to the cane during harvesting accelerates this decay. At the mill, trucks empty their load onto a receiving table. It feeds a belt conveyor that takes the cane through two separate washes. The cane must be as clean as possible before extracting the juice. But first, the cane's hard structure is broken down inside this crusher, where rotating hammers break the cane into small pieces. A conveyor loads it into a milling tandem designed to extract the sweet juice from the crushed cane. In this milling tandem, the cane passes through a series of 5 or more consecutive mills. Large cylinders compress the cane fiber. The juice pours out of the milling tandem and diverts into a channel away from the bagasse, the dry pulp that remains after extracting the juice. A worker supervises the operation at each of the mills. A vat collects the juice that flows from the top and bottom of the mills. Now that the juice is extracted from into sugar crystals, a sample goes through a series of tests at the sugar mill's laboratory. First, a technician adds a thickener that binds to impurities in the juice and then filters it to obtain a clear, clean juice. Then, he pours it into a polarimeter, a machine that measures the concentration of sugar. The juice from the mills now falls through this 10-meter-high tower as sulfur dioxide vapors rise through it. This process, known as sulfitation, bleaches the juice. Then the juice flows through a device that measures its pH level. While at a separate vat, Workers add powdered lime to water, preparing a solution to which they will then add the juice. An agitator mixes the cane juice and lime solution for about 6 hours to complete a process called alkalization. It regulates the juice's pH level and helps clarify it. In reaction to the lime, the juice's color changes from brown to yellow. Tanks. It takes over 2 hours for the juice to settle and for the impurities to fall to the bottom of the tank. A sample taken from the tank shows how the sludge collects at the bottom, while the clarified juice collects at the top. Next, we'll see how this clarified juice transforms into flowing crystals of white sugar. Workers filter the residue, known as mud. There's no waste here. The mud will fertilize the cane fields, and the bagasse will be burned as fuel. The clarified juice collected from the clarifier tanks now boils in a series of evaporators. This brings the concentration of the sugar in the juice up from 15% to 60%. Then the juice collects in 15-ton tanks to clarify even more. Any sediment left in the juice floats to the top. A rotating paddle skims this residue off to the sides of the tank. These tanks produce a type of syrup that goes on for still more processing. Workers now pour microscopic sucrose crystals suspended in alcohol into the syrup. This milky solution binds to the sugar present in the syrup and helps draw it out. Next, it all boils in large vacuum pans, forming sugar crystals. As the water in the syrup boils away, workers regularly check to see how the sugar is crystallizing. The goal? To produce known as masquite. It then goes into a high-speed centrifugal machine to remove the sugar crystals from the uncrystallized syrup. Inside, the sugar spins at 1200 revolutions per minute. This action draws the molasses to the outer shell of the machine, while the crystals remain in the inner basket. Sprays of water wash the crystals. Then the water is drawn out so that only the crystals remain. This centrifuge works much the same way as a washing machine set on the spin cycle. It draws out moisture from the sugar, much like you draw out the wash water from a load of laundry. Next, a conveyor belt carries the sugar crystals out of the centrifuge. This mill produces raw sugar, which has a higher molasses color and is unbleached, and plantation white sugar, which has less molasses and is bleached a brilliant white. The sugar on the conveyor now goes into a large dryer. Hot air blows into this dryer to bring the sugar's humidity level down to 0.02 table sugar. The dried sugar pours out of the dryer into a bag on a scale. It's full when it weighs in at 1,000 kilos. A hoist then carries the bags to a platform at the far end of the packing facility. At 3,000 kilos, that's a heavy load. It lowers each bag over a chute that leads to the factory's main floor. Workers carefully open each bag in turn and pour out the sugar directly into the chute. It feeds an automated packaging machine, which fills a series of 2-kilo plastic bags, seals them, and separates them. This packing facility produces 200,000 bags a day. That means processing 400 tons of white sugar daily. This fine plantation white sugar is available in a variety of convenient packaging options, and that should sweeten anyone's day.
It's our pleasure to thank our management, director, professors, guides, and from corporate works also towards finishing our project in a more successful manner. We thank everyone once again. Thank you.
And also we thank even our company management for giving us an opportunity to do the internship in their company. And finally we thank everyone.